Hey girl, I hope you is not rocket job. You are. I am so sorry. It is warm up in here. It is Monday, and I am on my way to provide support today. I said I wasn't going anywhere today, but you know, what we think we're not gonna do. Gotta go through sometimes and be like, yeah, I need you to go do this. And you know, we like, I was gonna chill today because that's how I had said. I slept. I didn't go to sleep till after 2 o'clock. Well, no, I didn't get off the phone with my mom and my uncle till after 2 o'clock. I am burning up, girl, so I gotta put a little air in here for a minute. And would it feel better? So I didn't get off the phone till about 2:30. I didn't go to sleep like 4 o'clock. So with that being said, your girl was a little sluggish today. I was supposed to go with my son's girlfriend. We were gonna go shopping today, and girl, I called her this morning because I really don't need anything, but I would just want to go, you know, hang out with her. So after she was like, well, I really don't need anything either, so we was like, okay, we'll just wait and go. Maybe we'll go hang out Wednesday. So lay back in the bed, but you know, but just chilling. That was earlier this morning. It's like 2:17 now. So my sister called. I called my sister this morning. She didn't answer, but I knew that her boyfriend of 11 years had a doctor's appointment. If you don't know, he is fighting cancer. He's fighting cancer, and she called me today. I could tell something wrong. My sister's one of those kind of people. She is so strong. Like, let me say this. She does not display emotions. Okay. She don't display emotions. So for her to break down crying, I know something is really wrong, but you know, they got some not so good news today. So which we already knew, you know, with how things are going. He's had 2 surgeries and a lot going on, you know, without just fully getting into their business. A lot going on. So where I thought I was going to chill, probably take me go back to sleep, take a nap, relax, because I tell everybody, I have everybody live. I said Mondays are my days off, even though I don't work nowhere. Mondays are my days off. So I was sitting there, and she called, and me and my mom were on the phone, so we were all talking, and she was telling us about it. She just burst out crying. And she hung up the phone, because my sister's not the kind of person. She's not gonna, you know, she really don't want you to know she's crying and stuff like that, so she hangs up. So Mama was like, you know, when you know, feel like it, just call us back or whatever. She hung up. So she called me back. I texted her and I said, hey, do you need me to come out where you are? And she was like, no, I'm good. But then when she called back, you know your family, you know your sister, you know your children, you know your mom, you know your dad, you know what I'm saying? You know people. So when she called me back, I could tell, you know, when she delivered some news to us that they delivered to her today. And I was thinking today, which I've been thinking this whole time, but today it hit me. Because I started praying. I prayed before I go, okay? So when I realized, yeah, I gotta go, you know, it was something about her voice again. So I said again, do you want me to come up there? She said yes. I said okay. So I began to pray. You know, a lot of times we don't walk in our gifts and our talents, and I'll be the first one to say that after losing my son, I just lost myself. I won't say a connection with God, but it hasn't been strong like it was, because I know my calling that God has given me. And yeah, I know my calling that God has given me. So I've kind of been, you know, off center. I just, losing my son, the way it happened, everything that happened knocked me off my center, because I tell the story before. I knew something was going to happen. Lord knows I didn't know it was going to be, when it was, and what was going to happen, okay? And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna tell you what happened to my son, but I'll dive into things leading up to that. I've not really been able to share with you all. You all just know my son died. My son committed suicide on April 13th, 2020. I've done videos where I have actually revealed it before, but I've never released them. I've told, I've done the video, said exactly what happened, but I could never edit or post those videos. So, it was so, I can't even get into that right now, but I will tell you that, so you can imagine my core. It rocked me to my core. But I will get into more about leading up to that and suicide, stuff like that later on. Maybe I'll release one of them videos if I can find it. I know where it is. I just hadn't been able to edit and talk about it. I've done several talking about his suicide, but so back to this. So I know what my calling was before that. I know the path that I was on. I know where I was going. I know where God had taken me to. My son's death rocked me to my core so bad. What in the world? It rocked me to my core so bad that I lost myself. I wasn't angry with God. I was disappointed. So for 3 years, it has taken me time to, and I'm not back there fully, but it's taking me time to get back to utilizing my gifts and my talents, and really even to get that connection back with God. I lost my connection. It wasn't God, it was me. Just being so devastated. You got to understand, like, I prayed so hard for my son that I just, and I saw little signs of him turning. I said, I'm going to get into this right. And so when I found out he committed suicide, it rocked my whole world, because the outcome that I prayed for 29 years and fasted for, prayed for, believed God for, all this stuff crumbled before my eyes, but it didn't. And I'll get into why later on, what I believe and stuff like that later on. So prior to, God would give me, I knew when something was not right. I didn't know when people were going to die, or whatever. But he'd give me the gift of praying for the sick. And in particularly, people that were ready to transitioning and praying for the sick, laying of hands, stuff like that. So I know that, okay? So I would get phone calls, but in my spirit, I already knew the call was coming kind of before it was, like, I knew it was something or somebody. Sometimes I didn't know who, and sometimes I did. So with him, same thing. So I say I pray, but I always pray before I go, because I don't know. See, my grandma taught me this a long time. My grandmother kind of, she had the gift of laying hands. She did. People heal, being healed, God using her and stuff like that. So but she taught me, pray before you touch anybody, before you mess with anybody, before you do anything. Make sure you pray and make sure God tells you to do this. And if he does not give you, if he don't tell you to lay hands on somebody, do not touch them. You can pray, but don't touch them if he don't tell you to lay hands on people. And her thing was, people have spirits and demons and things like that. And if God is not with you during that, transition or whatever you're trying to pray for somebody and stuff, you don't know what you're dealing with. So don't do that. So, and I believe that. She taught me that, but at the same time, she taught me that for me, watching her and talking to her and stuff like that. So, but at the same time, there's times that God will have me lay hands. Sometimes He don't. He wouldn't have me lay hands. So I pray today. But what God has given me today, and my sister don't really watch my videos, so I'm going to share this, is that oftentimes we get caught up. We need a miracle, okay? We need a miracle. We need a miracle with him today. We need a miracle with Tracy. God performed miracles, but do you realize and do you know, I don't know if in your neck of the woods, but you don't hear people talk about miracles that much anymore. Used to, it was miracles. It was miracles. And you heard people talk about, you heard miracles being performed all the time. And if you really look throughout your life, you'll see some miracles throughout your life. Some of the things that you've been through, it's miraculous that you survived those things, okay? But it comes to me oftentimes, we look for miracles on this side of the earth. You're going to be healed, you're going to be delivered, and you're going to be here. That's not always how it works. Miracles come sometimes that people are healed. They're healed on the other side. It's time for them to go and they're healed on the other side. But what God revealed to me today, this is not talking about Tracy, but this is in general in my time with Him, is that sometimes we think miracles need to be in the physical. Miracles sometimes come that people get their lives together and they get to know Jesus before they transition. That is a miracle, because some people are so stone cold and set in their ways and they don't believe in God. They don't, that things happen that they are saved, delivered, and set free. And sometimes that's the miracle. Because we all have an appointed time to come and we all have an appointed time to go. And sometimes that is the miracle. And a lot of times people don't realize that is the miracle. That this person was able to change their life around and that they were able to get to know God as their personal Savior before they departed this earth. I feel it. I feel that. And I'm not saying this is Tracy. It has nothing to do with you. God gave me this today. So, I've heard a preacher said, my pastor of 30 years was buried Saturday. He was not our current pastor, but he was my pastor for 30 years at the church I go to. He pastored there for 30 years. And I used to hear him talk about how, some people were so cold-hearted. He'd go to their deathbed to pray for them and try to get them to acknowledge God. And on their deathbed, they refused to acknowledge God. And they left here without knowing the personal Savior. God is their personal Savior. And, now this is going to depend on what you believe and who you believe in. But if you say you believe in the Bible, this is relevant to you. So, and when God revealed this to me, it was just, I thought about my son. That's kind of, like all this stuff wrapped up together. Because see, I still struggle sometimes with the fact that my son is gone. I still struggle sometimes with the fact that God, the one thing that I prayed for constantly, that I just knew, this is me now, this is me in self, that I just knew you were going to do for me, was to deliver my son. And I'm talking about deliver him from the mental illness, deliver him to the point that, I'm going to say it in my words, that he was normal and that he could have a normal life. Well, my son's life was a normal life. That was his life. Okay? This is God just working with me. That was a normal life. It was his life. That was the life that was presented to him. And when I look back, you know how you look at things and you think, oh my God, when somebody has a mental illness, sometimes it is almost as if you just like, oh my God, it's just so many emotions and stuff that you go through yourself personally as their mother, their father, their sister, their brother, the husband, wife, whatever, that you think to yourself, this ain't a like, that was his life though. That was his life. And see, we don't know why we develop the things that we develop. It's just like the cancers. Sometimes people, you get cancer, you get sicknesses, you get illnesses that will eventually be the end. But at the same time, that was what was assigned to you. That's your assignment. And sometimes your life and the life that you live will actually touch other people. You don't know how, that deliver them to God. And let me tell you something. When my son died, now my son was good. Let me tell you about this son, okay? And I'm about to go deep here because this is what God has given me to give today. That son was the son that if I needed anything, all I had to do was pick up the phone and call him. That son was the son that his world stopped and he would come and see about his mama. That son was the son that if I was sick, he would come and fix me food. That son is if I needed some projects done around the house, he's the one that would show up. And let me tell you, that son, he took me through hell. But at the same time, when I needed him, if he knew that I needed him, he would come running. His world stopped and he would come see about his mama. That son was the most affectionate child that I have. And even though I stayed running up down the hospitals here, there, the jailhouse here, there, because he was bipolar, he was ADHD, he did have mental illnesses going on. But that son is the son that, honey, let me tell you something. Since he been gone, I can tell you one thing. He's missed on this earth. And I often, like sometimes when I was lonely, he would call me and he had the most random stories all the time. It was something all the time with him. But at the same time, he could put a smile on my face. He worried me, but a lot of times I didn't know where he was, didn't know what was going on with him. But he was a blessing in my life. That son kept me on my knees. That son had me have a relationship with God because, see, I was a wild one. That son, hey, I had a relationship with God because I had to constantly pray for him, okay? Constantly pray. But I don't know, I said all that just to say, we don't never know. We don't know when we come here. We don't know when we leave. We don't know our purpose, or a person's purpose. Like, let's say my son, for an example, stayed in trouble all the time. But as much as he worried me, he also brought me joy. As much as he worried me, I could depend on him. As much as he worried me, you know what I'm saying? Those are the things that you got to think about. You got to look at. And let me tell you something. Since he been gone, it's been a void in my life. But God. And I'm on the way up here. And my heart is broken. And sometimes you think, can I handle this? Am I strong enough to handle this? But let me tell you, when God sends you, you gotta go. He will provide the strength for you to get through. Because, sometimes it does bother me. I get to thinking about my son, and sometimes it's a serious pain in my heart. Let me tell you. A serious pain in my heart. It's one of those gripping. Let me tell you something. Whew. Losing a child is horrific. Suicide is tragic. It's because you always just wonder why. But when I think about my son, girl, let me tell you, and I'm gonna come back and tell the story. Tell the story because there's a lot to tell. It's multiple videos, but my son was he was a blessing. With all his illness, and let me tell you, I did a video, you know, talking about I had to be his advocate. I had to become a specialist in him. When you have a child with mental illness, let me tell you, it's so much running through your mind. You always worried, always concerned. But God carried me. He carried me, and I'll get into all of that later because it's a video in itself. And like I said, if I can find some of the older videos, I may begin to play those videos. You know, because it's real raw feeling. It's real raw feeling. And with my son, he called me the morning before. About 1:30 in the morning, and we talked for a little bit, and I said, Adrian, let me come and get you, son. I'll come pick you out. I had been sick. I think I had COVID. COVID was just coming out, and it was terrible. And I had been sick for 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks, and I was coming around. I'm gonna tell this story. I gotta break it down in another video, but I'm gonna give you a little bit. I was coming around, but I knew trouble was at hand. I knew trouble was brewing. I knew it. God put it in my spirit. It had been in my spirit for some months. And that night, y'all, when I tell you death, I knew that, but I thought I was gonna die. I thought it was me. I thought it was me for a while because I had been so sick. It seemed like I wasn't getting better. It seemed like I couldn't breathe. I had a lot of stuff going on. About 8 something that night, I was going in my bedroom and I dropped to my knees and I said, God, please. Because it's like he let me know something was going to happen, Adrian. And I said, God, please. Please, Lord. Like you did for Abraham when he offered up his son, you provided a ram in the bush. I said, Lord, please. Please, if it is your will, please provide a ram in the bush. But I knew, I had no idea it was going to be suicide. But I talked to him, and he was kind of down there. Now, when the breakdown came, when me falling to my knees saying, God, please provide a ram in the bush. If it is your will. Because that's what we got to get used to saying, God, your will be done. His will is going to be done, but if it's your will, Lord. And sometimes, you know, I have had times I'm just like, Lord, please, I have begged him to spare my son's life. And guess what? His life was spared. But really, my son was tired. He was tired. He'd been tired for years. I knew he was tired, y'all. I knew he was tired. He even said to me that night, that morning, 1:30 in the morning, he said, Mom, I'm just tired, Mom. And he hung up the phone. And I tried to get him back on the phone, but girl, I could never get him back on the phone. He wouldn't answer. And it didn't happen then. Tell me it didn't happen till like 8 something the next morning. But I'll do a video. I'll do some videos. But I believe he got his miracle. I think that's the gist of the story is that I believe he got his miracle. And I'll tell you why in some of the other videos. Do I believe that he committed suicide? No, I know what they said. I know what the report said. I know what they said. But I don't think he did it. I don't think he did it on purpose. That later on that evening, you know, I'm just in the room because, girl, my heart is talking about. I thought I was going to die, y'all. I ain't never been so hurt in my entire life. I just felt like I was just going to die. I was laying in that bed. I had cried all I could cry. Cried, and I was still, you know, but no tears were coming. My heart ached so bad. You talking about a heartache? My heart ached so bad. My heart ached. It hurt, y'all. It hurt. It felt like somebody had a knife and was just jabbing me in my heart over and over and over again. It just hurt. Agent voice came to me and said, I didn't mean to, Mom. Out of nowhere. I didn't mean to, Mom. And I believe in my spirit. I believe in my heart that he didn't mean to. And I'll get into, you know, what happened and stuff like that later. Because I think it's a healing for somebody in all of this. In all of this. I have always known that my son was brought to this earth for me. His life was for me to go through. But for there to be testimony behind the going through. For there to be testimony in God's deliverance, his healing, his giving you strength through what you're going through, what you're fighting through. Because let me tell you something. It ain't nothing worse than not knowing where your child is. It ain't nothing worse than feeling like if they in the hospital or if they locked up, then you know, at least I know where they are. It's nothing worse when they come and tell you your child is dead. There's no feeling on this earth like it. And like I said, I'm probably gonna start sharing some bits and pieces of the story. May upload some older videos just so you can see how I was feeling the raw feeling at the time, and then maybe, you know, come back and explain where I am 3 years, almost 4 years later. Because somebody needed it. I needed it. So I'm about to go up here, and I know this has been a long video. I did not intend for this to be a long video, honey, but I did want to let you know sometimes our miracles are not in this earthly realm. God is still working miracles. He's still performing miracles. And if you look back over your life, you will see where he has performed a miracle. You may not even think of it at the moment as a miracle, but God is still working miracles. So if you need, I ain't gonna say if you need, we all need miracles. We all need deliverance. We all need healing. We all know somebody that is sick. We all need miracles. So we just got to ask God to send those miracles. Still, he's in the miracle and the blessing business. The miracle could be the suffering stops. Let me tell you something. My grandma, I'm gonna do this quick because I know it's been a 30-minute video. My grandma was diabetic, and it had come to the point where her toes needed to be amputated. And grandma said, honey, she had started talking about waiting for God to send me my miracle. My miracle is coming. And honey, sometimes she would get to praising the Lord. She'd be like, my miracle is on the way. And then she began to tell me, baby, my miracle may not be on this earth. I want you to know that. My miracle may not be on this earth, but God is sending me my miracle. And honey, let me tell you something. She said, I came into this world with all my limbs and all my fingers and toes, and I'm going to leave this world with all my fingers and limbs and toes. God is working a miracle. And honey, you know when you say God is working a miracle, but I understood. And she even said to me, she made sure I knew God is working a miracle. And she said to me, babe, my miracle may not be on this side of on the realm, but God is going to give me a miracle. And miracles are still working. We got to believe God, pray, ask, and look, because they're there. Expect your miracle. Ask God for a miracle and expect your miracle. Sometimes the miracle may not look how we want it to look, but it's how God is working it out to be the miracle that we need. Okay? The miracle that you need. All right, girl, let me get up off of here. And I will holler back at you in the next video. Okay? Bye, girl.